We're good? Awesome. Welcome into the Sources Say podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball podcast on the KSR Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jack Pilgrim of Kentucky Sports Radio. Very excited to be joined. We got a full panel of fun here. Zack Geoghegan right here. Zack, what's up, buddy?
Can you hear me? Okay, I was making sure I had my mic on. Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm ready. Let's see how we got a new little setup experiment going here. We're trying to figure out how it works on the fly. But I'm sure it'll be smooth, no issues. It'll be perfect the whole way. So we're ready to talk about some Pro Ball.
Absolutely. Pro Day Ball. Also joining us, we have Shawn Smith, Spencer Smith, all the Smiths. How are the Smiths doing this evening?
We're doing good. We got to see some basketball. At least that's my opinion on my end. We're doing good. We got to see some basketball.
Yeah, hold on one second, guys. I got a little echo on my
Spencer, how are we doing?
Yeah, no, I'm doing great. Sorry, I had a little echo on my end. I had to take care of it. No, I'm doing great. I'm doing really good. We saw Kentucky basketball on TV tonight. I mean, that's like as good as it gets. That's the best feeling in the world. So doing great. Got a lot of thoughts. But yeah, great to be here.
So was the broadcast as bad as people made it out to be? Because it sounded like you guys got to hear a lot about the evolution of the game and the existence of rebounding and like just kind of big picture takeaways of like the foundation of basketball, not necessarily the actual product of the Kentucky Wildcats. Is that the case?
Shawn, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean it's like every time this thing comes around, right? You want to see more basketball and less talking, and then with this one, you saw a little basketball. It's still a lot of talking. Like that would be what I would like to change about it from a broadcast standpoint. But we still got to see. You all got to see more than we got to see, but you still got to see some 5-on-5. You still got to see them in uniform. It's not clips on X. It's not clips on Facebook or Instagram. You actually got to see these guys in action doing some things. And I still think there's a lot to take out of it, but you two are probably going to have a little bit more that you were able to kind of see from being present that Spencer and I were not able to fully get the effect of.
How are we looking, Steven? Is it coming in okay? Because we're struggling over here. Okay. Can you guys hear us fine?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see you. You guys look good.
Okay.
High def. You guys are good on my end.
All right. Well, let's just start with what we were able to see on our end, and then we'll kind of transition into like what the television brought, because they added a lot of fun, backstory with Mark Pope and Mikhail McLean and Cody Feger and Alvin Brooks III. So a lot of backstory and new kind of interviewee stuff, making up for the lack of actual on-court stuff. But Zack, we got to see just everything in raw live action. Mm-hmm. What were kind of the first couple of things that jumped out to you from Memorial?
Oh, wow. Well, if you just happened to tune into our rapid reaction about an hour ago, we talked for about 10. We kind of tried to hit on the main talking points, and I think my biggest one, at least that I came away with, was Jalen Lowe, who definitely kind of looked the part of what we've been hearing all summer long of stepping into a leadership role, being like the dog mentality. The three-point shot definitely looks like it's coming along. I'd say he definitely hit more than he missed from three. My favorite play, which I said in the rapid reaction, was where he ripped Jasper Johnson at half court and just dove all over the ground like it was crawling all the way trying to get to the ball. So really loved that. It was very communicative with the rest of his teammates. So he looked at every part, the floor general that we expect him to be, that we kind of need him to be for this team to thrive next year. So I was really excited with what I saw from him. It was hard to kind of figure out, how he looks in like ball hand or pick and rolls and things like that, just because of how it was set up. But just from the stuff that we saw in like the short actual 5-on-5 setting stuff, I really liked what we saw. And the shot definitely looked like it is. It's not going to be the 27% or whatever it was at Pitt that it was last year.
I'd say in terms of individual standouts, I think Trent Noah definitely belongs in the conversation, because there was just so much built up about, this dude never misses. He just makes every single shot that he takes. By far the best three-point shooter. We heard Mark Pope say at Media Day that he's a 1.76 points per possession, I believe, in live game reps in practice. So just kind of seeing that with our own two eyes, what does that look like? And I'd heard so many good things about just a knack for the basketball, nose for the basketball, diving for loose balls, attacking the glass, fighting defensively, just doing a lot of things that, physically doesn't look like a guy who should belong on the floor amongst a Jalen Lowe or Denzel Aberdeen or whatever, but like just does so many little things where you're like, well, I don't know how I'm not going to play this guy. So a lot of great things about Trent Noah. I really love what I saw there. Braden Hawthorne, I kind of like have this like, I want him to be like kept under lock and key, top secret. Don't want anybody to see how good he actually is, because I don't want anybody to steal him in the transfer portal next offseason. Like, I want him to just be kind of stowed away for the year, because you heard good things like, man, this guy just keeps popping in these flashing moments of practice where you're like, dude, how can we not play this guy who is drawn comparisons to Tayshaun Prince and the like? So good things out of both of those guys. Andrea Yelovich, our first time getting to see him with our own two eyes, loved the transition of what I had heard about him to start his Kentucky career. He even admitted that at media day, basically saying, I was really struggling with the pace and the toughness, physicality, all those things. I just really wasn't doing a great job with that stuff, but things have kind of clicked for me, and we got to see just a new level of comfort with him in particular. So I really like what I saw from those three guys. You mentioned Jalen Lowe as well. Anybody else kind of jump out before we get back to our streamers here?
Well, on the Hawthorne note, yeah, he definitely, I mean, he even had like a deep Tayshaun Prince like three. Like, the comparisons are fun to talk about just because it's almost like he's going out of his way to mimic Tayshaun Prince at times. So, but yeah, he pops. He just shoots the ball. He has such a high release that it's hard to block. Like, they were doing some of those shooting drills. He had some just really tough shots, like turnarounds over, Malachi and Brandon Garrison. So he's still very raw. You can tell, and he's like as thin as my pointer finger right now. So he's still got a lot to go in terms of building himself up and getting himself into college shape. But yeah, so he definitely stood out a little bit. Cam Williams was another guy where I was like, man, he's just bigger than I thought, bigger and longer than when you see him in person. He's listed at 6'8", whatever. About the long arms. He blocked, I think it was Jalen Lowe. He blocked one of his 3-point shots. You all wouldn't have been able to see that because you probably didn't. I'm sure the broadcast didn't catch that part. But yeah, so Cam Williams impressed me just with the physical attributes and how he was looking. And then Malachi Moreno was probably my biggest actual maybe standout. Just you feel like he's going to play a lot of minutes early on in the season, so you'd like to see him kind of being at the stage that he's at right now if he's going to be doing that. So, I'd still probably say Brandon Garrison's ahead of him in the pecking order, but I really liked what I saw out of Malachi. Just really, really smart basketball player, you can tell. So, yeah, we could go on and on for all the guys that we talked about, and I'm sure we will, but Malachi Moreno, Jalen Lowe, Cam Williams, those were just some of the few guys that definitely stood out.
Shawn, in terms of the 5-on-5 that you were able to see, anybody else jump out at you that you liked or maybe surprised you in a way that you said, hey, he does some things that I maybe wasn't necessarily expecting?
Not really just anybody, just a single standout. I think you could probably go through this entire thing and point to individual moments that everyone had, because I don't think anyone necessarily played poorly, but more from just a collective thing for me is just the effort that you saw guys giving. I mean, diving on the floor and after loose balls, and I think Kentucky's backcourt overall can create some havoc and be disruptive. And you're seeing Denzel Aberdeen in that, you're seeing Jalen Lowe in that, and those are the things that I think we've been the most excited about, is just Kentucky's improvement on that end of the floor. And it doesn't always have to start with rim protection. It starts with how disruptive you can be with guarding the basketball. And I think that was on display at times in some of the action that we got to see, at least from the broadcast standpoint. But I thought a lot of guys played well. I thought Trent Noah, obviously we know that his impact is going to be to make shots. If Jalen Lowe shoots the ball and makes threes, I think that he's even more dynamic than what we were factoring him to be, even from the upside that he has to his game. But just the way Kentucky's going to be able to kind of be disruptive on the perimeter defensively and kind of set the tone there, I think that's what stood out the most to me in 5-on-5. But from individuals, I mean, Colin Chandler, Mo Diabate can be a bully. And just those things stand out the most. But it's a collective thing that I took away from it more than individual.
Spencer, same question for you. And I do want to add, fascinating note for me personally, when we saw Jaden Quaintance throw on his practice uniform and start not just standing around and maybe taking some set shots, like actually seeing him throw down a couple dunks and, participate in the live, big drills and kind of, power moves and throw down some layups, some dunks, knock down a couple shots. We were like, well, how close are we? So that was a fascinating development, but we also unfortunately did not get to see Otega Oweh, but we did hear from him at Media Day. He said that he is going to be returning to full contact practice at some point this week. So I had heard some things about him kind of inching along in the process of, okay, well, midway through last week was let's get some shooting and ball handling drills, things like that. And then by the end of practice, how about some 5-on-0, or at the end of the week going into the weekend, some dry 5-on-0 and not, live full contact stuff, but still kind of getting his feet wet there. So it doesn't surprise. I thought we'd see a little bit of Otega tonight, but it doesn't surprise me that he wasn't able to participate, at least in the 5-on-5 stuff. But I have no concern about what that's going to look like here in the short term. I think he's going to come back at some point this week. Same question for you, Spencer. What jumped out at you?
I think I agree with a lot of what Shawn said. I think this team competes. On the broadcast, they talked about how this team likes to play, and they're just begging coaches all the time to play. It's funny, as I was in coaching and then as I was starting to get out of coaching, there was a culture developing, I felt like, among players where they didn't actually like to play all that much. Everybody just wanted to work out. Everybody had a workout guy, right? So you look on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and they're working out, and that's great. But sometimes we were to our guys like, why don't you play? Like, why don't you just get in there and play more? And it sounds like this team just absolutely loves to just compete, which you saw on display tonight. Like, everything was fast. They were flying up and down the court. To Shawn's point, guys were diving on the floor. You could tell it upset some guys if they got beat for a bucket or something like that, which was good. And you could tell that the ones setting that tone were the upperclassmen, right? Jalen Lowe, Aberdeen, Mo Diabate, Brandon Garrison, to a point. Like, those guys were kind of leading the way when it comes to competing. Zach, to your point, we did get to see the block that Cam Williams had on Jalen Lowe. You saw the wingspan on display there. I thought Cam looked really good. What I'd like to see more from Cam is like be a little bit more aggressive, like hunt your shot a little bit more. He seemed a little timid tonight. I thought that there were times where he maybe passed up a look. Or wasn't even really looking at the rim to get a shot up, and just immediately looking to make the next pass. And I thought he could be a little bit more assertive. Like, how about this? He shot 63% from 2-point range at Tulane last year, 63%. When a guy shoots 63% in any facet, I'm like, you need to shoot the ball more. That's too high. That means you're probably not taking enough shots. So I look for that from Cam a little bit. Jalen Lowe was great. He just totally controlled the pace. He looks really good. I really liked what I saw from Jasper. He seemed really comfortable. He hit some big shots, seemed to be totally comfortable controlling the ball, coming off of screens. He got lost defensively every now and then, which is totally normal at this stage probably for a freshman. But overall, like, Jasper looked incredible. Yelovich looked more comfortable. And honestly, this was a good opportunity for them to get the nerves out. Like, a lot of pro scouts there. You're being televised for the first time this season. There were definitely some nerves early on, but I felt like about halfway through, they all started to settle in a little bit and play their game, which was good. So a lot to be excited about.
And Zach, I want to toss this to all three of you guys, because one of my favorite parts of the Pro Day event is talking to the actual pro scouts, one of all 30 teams in attendance, and just kind of picking their brains and just seeing, like, hey, watching pros your entire career, what jumps out at you right now? Like, what was your immediate reaction watching practice? Who looked good? Who didn't? Who struggled? Who surprised you? Things of that nature. So I asked two of them before we went live, two scouts that were in attendance, just, all right, give me raw reaction. What jumped out at you? And Zach, I want to get your thoughts on, from a pro lens, what they thought, because that is what the whole point of this event is, to see how they are as future pros. So we got Colin Chandler, first name that jumped out, looked like the All-American that he was coming out of high school, the level of confidence and, athleticism and bounciness and the defense and defensive prowess. First name that jumped out. Said that Jasper is putting pressure on Jalen Lowe, that once he learns to play in a system and control his shot selection, that he's going to be kind of eating into Jalen Lowe's minutes as the year goes on. I think that kind of personally surprised me, because we had heard so much good stuff about Jasper there. Glue guy is Mo Diabate Diabate, NBA role player, never a star, but a glue guy role. You hear the comparison of the Draymond Greens and of things of that nature for Mo Diabate. Hearing that from an NBA guy saying, hey, he could play in our league, I thought that was definitely fascinating. Malachi needs to get in shape if he's going to play the role that he's probably capable of and showing that he's capable of until we get Jaden Quaintance back. So they like him, thought he did a lot of things, but almost expecting a little bit more out of him. I liked hearing that. And then, Cam Williams, when he's making jump shots, he's a star, but when he doesn't, kind of gets too invisible out there, needs to find ways to make an impact when he's not just making shots. And then Trent Noah shoots the ball so well that you have to have him on the floor, kind of adds up with the narratives we've been speaking. But my favorite, Noah's Ark, 2 of everything. I really liked just in terms of college stardom and what we're expecting from this team. You got to love NBA scouts saying, hey, this team's like Noah's Ark. We got 2 of everything.
So 2 of everything, you could say platoon, maybe, right? Not saying, but it's out there. The Mo Diabate that's probably the one I want to talk about the most, because it felt like he kind of started off slow, like in the drills. Like I felt like he knew that he had a bunch of pro scouts watching him, and then as it went along, like he got more comfortable and just did his thing, which is just grab every rebound that's around, like super aggressive, like just bullying guys out of the way. So I really like the role player role is probably a perfect way to describe him, because he's not going to be a guy that, his season high this season might end up being 15 points, like at most. Like that's probably going to be so defense, rebounding, being a glue guy, veteran is really where he's going to, I think, thrive. So it's encouraging to hear that. But Mo, he's the biggest dude out there at 6'9", whatever, 240 or 230 or whatever he is, and you can tell he just carves out space when he's underneath the basket. So. Yeah, I was really impressed with Mo as it went along. I think he shot a 3. I didn't get to see it. Did
it was a stunning moon ball
or something.
He kind of sized up Brandon Garrison, all right, I'm about to get this dude, and hits him with this pull-up that just, damn near hit the ceiling at Memorial Coliseum, and it just sank in, and you could kind of tell everybody was like, all right, come on, man. That's you're the trailing kind of catch and shoot guy, not leaning on Mo too heavily from 3, but, hey, he made it.
Yeah, and Mo did a lot of, it felt like Spencer and Shawn might be able to confirm or deny, but it felt like he had a lot of stuff where he was working at the top of the key, trying to be like that facilitator type a little bit as well. So, you don't still want him shooting a bunch of 3s. I think we were talking about it, he was 12 of 26 for last season. So maybe if you get him up to 43s a game, that might be a little bit better. But he's going to be a guy that you'll just, even if he's not really contributing on offense, you just kind of have to play him because he does everything else so well. So, but I was really impressed with just how it looked like he got a little bit better as pro day went along. And just looked more comfortable, and you can tell that he's got that leadership role. I think one of Spencer or Shawn mentioned that earlier, that you could tell that he's kind of commanding himself out there. So I really like what we see out of Mo, but I've been a big Mo fan pretty much since he got here, so it was nice to actually get to see him in person and kind of back up what you see with your own eyes when he's playing at Alabama.
Shawn, a couple other pro takeaways I want to get your thoughts on. Braden Hawthorne, just yes sir, was the response. Again, don't love that the first takeaway from an NBA scout is about Braden Hawthorne and how good he's looking, because again, I want him to be a well-kept secret and not risk him being a star somewhere else. So love it, but also don't love that. Colin Chandler impressed. Trent Noah was grinding and hitting shots. Cam Williams, got to give me more. So 2 guys that kind of wanted to see a little bit more out of Cam Williams, and then Malachi was solid, especially on the glass and in the paint. Your thoughts on that, Shawn?
I don't. With Hawthorne, right? It's one of those things that I don't expect him to be a factor this year. But my goodness, when you look at the frame and you look at the skill set, I'm with you, Jack. It's one of those things that you don't want it to be. I don't think he's going to be able to crack the rotation of this team. I just think that this team is just so good, and that's okay. But that's not typically okay in this era of college basketball. So you don't want it to be one of those things where there's a lot of buzz, and then you start get people getting in ears here and there, and then you get a transfer portal situation in the spring, because the long-term potential of his game, sophomore year, maybe beyond, is star potential when you look at that frame of what he can become. As far as Malachi Moreno goes, you saw him, sprint out of a ball screen in some of their action that they had and get a dunk. To me, he's a guy that's just seeing that small clip of him. I'm able to see the improvement from what I faced and scouted for 2 years to already the jump that he's made just from being on campus since June. You see the body changing. You see the speed and just the way that he's able to pick up the speed of the game playing at that level. What Zach was saying about Mo Diabate just a moment ago about being the guy that's the kind of the connecting piece in Kentucky's offense at the top of the key, that's something that I was wanting to see the moment that they signed him because of the versatility that he can be. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 5-man that's initiating that action. You can have Mo in that spot. And that's something I want to watch over the next couple of weeks when they get into this exhibition against Purdue and into those early season games. Who are the different connectors? Who are those different guys playing in the middle third of the floor that's initiating offense for Kentucky? It doesn't have to be Malachi Moreno. It doesn't have to be BG. It can be Mo Diabate. Do they mix in somebody else at that spot? I think the versatility that Kentucky can hit you with at that spot, it's going to make Kentucky hard to guard. Even if they don't necessarily shoot the ball at the same clip that they did a year ago, they get a guy in that spot that can beat you off the bounce and do some other things and create as well.
Spencer, Cody Feger said tonight, apparently, I'm just reading, we didn't get to see the broadcast, but apparently said that he wanted Kentucky to, they were putting such an emphasis on defense going into the fall because they have plans on becoming the best defensive team in college basketball. We know the personnel is kind of there, but are they showing signs of that being a legitimate possibility? And if not the best defensive team, if we're talking top 5, top 10, top 20, where do you think things kind of stand out from what you've seen from them defensively thus far?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's night and day from a year ago as far as the activity on defense. You look away from the ball and, are guys in the right spot? Are they on the balls of their feet? Do they have one foot in the paint? Are they kind of constantly talking, even if they're not involved in the play? There might be a ball screen happening 2 passes away. But am I on the back end? Am I talking? Are my feet square with the center of the lane? Last year, there was a bit of that, but you could tell that it wasn't natural for some guys. And I don't know, it never really felt like defensively, as we got towards the end of the year, I think we got into a better rhythm defensively. But to see us where we're at right now defensively is really, really good. I was really happy with the way that we covered ball screens, the way that we covered the zoom action tonight. Now, again, they're seeing that in practice every day, probably to death. So they're probably sick of zoom action at this point, but the way that we defended it was really good because we were talking, we were switching when we needed to. We needed to do a couple of emergency switches, which was we weren't supposed to switch that, but the guy got hung up on the handoff or whatever. So Malachi might have had to stick with the guard, but nobody panicked. They did a good job. Everybody kind of adjusted to what they needed to do. They loaded up on the ball to help Malachi out. A lot of really good stuff that you're okay, we started to see that in February of last year, and now it's October 7th, and we're already seeing some of that stuff. But you just have guys that are just naturally nose to the ball. Colin, Mo Diabate, guys like that. We saw Jasper really compete on that end. Jalen Lowe looked pretty good. So I think defensively we could be really good. There was some talk, Zach, you might have written the article. There was some talk because I think Mark Pope gave a press answer during the press conference yesterday and all that during media day. So, so there's been some chatter. Will we press? Won't we? I don't think we'll press necessarily in the way that Louisville did in 2013 or press Virginia in the late, 2015 or whatever. What I think we'll do is a lot of head hunting probably, where it's hey, as soon as the ball goes up, on a shot, maybe instead of Jalen Lowe sprinting back like a normal point guard would do, we say, Jalen Lowe, you go and find point guard A. And you just tail him. You're not running back on defense. You're running to whoever you think the outlet pass is going to go to, and you're going to make him work up and down the floor. I think we could do some stuff like that I think would be really cool, and we have the horses to do it because we're super deep. But I love the way that this team competed defensively, and they were talking and active and stuff. So a lot of really good bones. We still got a little ways to go, but I was really encouraged by what I saw on that end of the floor tonight.
And I'll echo with Spencer. I went into this not wanting to pay too much attention to the offensive end of the floor because I trust what Mark Pope is doing on that end. Regardless of what the pieces are, if they shoot it 33% from 3 or 38% from 3, I trust the cutting. I trust the spacing. I trust the creativity, however they want to manipulate to get offense. It was more so the defensive end of the floor that I was paying attention to, and it was, does Kentucky have an edge that they're going to be able to play with? And I saw that edge even though Otega Oweh's not on the court. I saw that edge even though Jaden Quaintance isn't able to be out there doing 5-on-5s. and full speed things. So I saw it, and I saw that mentality is there to be better, and that commitment to being better on that end of the floor. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from getting something out of what we saw tonight, because obviously we're not going to see it with Big Blue Madness. You'll get some with Blue White, but as you're leading up to that first exhibition here in a couple of weeks, I see that Kentucky is going to have the pieces to be significantly better on the defensive end of the floor.
A lot of talk about just the lineups and again, how deep it is. Alvin Brooks said on the broadcast it was the deepest team by far he's ever been a part of, and we're talking about somebody who won a national championship at Baylor with a very deep team in 2021. So I think those are pretty strong words there from AB. But on that note, the lineups themselves, Pope said that has kind of been the group, both sets of groups for the better part of the fall as we approach the preseason. We have the white team: Jalen Lowe, Denzel Aberdeen, Malachi Moreno, Mo Diabate, Trent Noah, and Braden Hawthorne. The blue team: Brandon Garrison, Colin Chandler, Reese Potter, Jasper Johnson, Andrea Yelovich, and Cam Williams. Anything about just kind of the layout there jump out at you, Zach, who worked well with one another, who head-to-head matchups that maybe you liked with what you saw tonight?
I didn't really take too much out of I guess who was on which team and all that. It was. I think my main takeaway from that is that you're missing an All-American and a top 5 pick on those two.
Potentially
the
two best players on the team.
So I think that's probably the main takeaway from all of this is that everything we talk about is missing those two players. So I didn't take too much out of the actual team makeups and everything. But the Lowe Johnson matchup was definitely one to kind of keep an eye on. One that it stood out a little bit, especially just because Jasper, definitely needs to come along quickly on that end if he wants to play a lot. So I feel like I didn't get to pay as much close attention to Jasper as I would have liked. It was, kind of everywhere and all that. But so I don't have too much of a major takeaway or anything from that. But
I have a major takeaway about our friends at the absolute perfect time coming in at SeatGeek. My goodness, if you're wanting to capitalize on getting seats at the right time, we have Big Blue Madness, we have Blue White game, we have the exhibition games, the absolute best with our friends at SeatGeek. I'm so excited for this weekend, especially with Big Blue Madness on Saturday. It's going to be an absolute blast. That's why I want to give a shout out to our friends at SeatGeek and today's sponsor. A huge shout out. 35 million downloads. SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. Over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Wildcat basketball is around the corner. Actually, just here. We're not even around the corner. We're here with the NFL officially back, MLB playoffs. There's so much stuff to love about SeatGeek. I was looking up some of the different events and the cost. You can get to Big Blue Madness for $18. It sucks. It's sold out in 29 minutes, but you can get in there for $18. $42 for the Blue White game. Pretty penny for Purdue, $182. But hey, you're taking on a potential, the preseason #1 team in the country at Rupp Arena. Sucks, but yeah, that's worthwhile. Georgetown, $62, and then for the season opener against Nichols, $46. So just so much to love with our friends at SeatGeek. Absolutely love them. Of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code KSR10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code KSR10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Zach, a couple of recruiting updates that kind of overlapped with tonight. Obviously, all eyes are on Tyron Stokes and what's coming in the coming days as it relates to the Wildcats. But a 5-star guard on campus just sitting there watching courtside with us. They're at Pro Day. Deron Rippey Jr., 5-star, top 20 player in the country, sitting there interacting. He was getting shots up on the floor with Jasper Johnson. Afterward, maybe 5-star guard one year, and then following year we get another 5-star guard.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Rippey over the last couple of days. We just keep seeming to run into him. But yeah, he was there, sidelined at Pro Day, sitting there in Memorial Coliseum with his, I assume, his mom and dad. And what I will say is most 17-year-old kids just love to sit on their phone the whole time. I didn't see him doing much of that. So he was at least semi-engaged. I don't think he was over there smiling and cheering and stuff like that. But so Deron Rippey's here. He got here on Sunday. He's been here for a while. I think he'll probably end up leaving sometime tomorrow. So that was probably a pretty cool experience for him to see, hey, kind come to Kentucky, you're going to get 30 pros looking at you before the season even starts. That's a nice little recruiting pitch there. But yeah, he's, in the middle of this massive visit tour right now. I think Kentucky is like stop 4 or 5, and he's got maybe 3 left.
9 total, I believe.
Yes, I think he still has 3 more after this. I think he was at Syracuse and Texas the last couple of weeks, and now he's here. His trip originally was like for a couple weeks ago, but again got delayed. So he's here now, still made it out. And you've got the whole Tyron Stokes buzz coming with it too. So definitely trending. Kentucky's trending in the right direction with the recruiting buzz, at least.
Tyron Stokes.
Let's talk about him.
Man, that's one that we've been waiting a long time for. I'd heard really good things about Kentucky, and especially here lately, just kind of getting to that closing table, getting to the all right, you're in the driver's seat. All you got to do is just press the gas a little bit, just get us across the finish line, get them to go public with a commitment, and Mark Pope lands his number 1 target and the number 1 recruit in high school basketball. Quickly, what would it mean for Mark Pope to land the number 1 player in the country? Does it matter that he has a number 1 next to his name, or is it about the fit and culture and character and all those things that Mark Pope talked about extensively yesterday at Media Day?
Well, it's definitely all that stuff. You can't, if you're Mark Pope, you got to ignore the number, but I think it's pretty much a consensus at this point that Stokes is almost far and away the best player in this class, So as long as Pope thinks that he fits, because I thought it was interesting when Pope was talking at Media Day yesterday, where he's like, we go into these conversations with some of these kids and we both leave after mutually saying what, this just isn't going to work. So, and Pope's gotten to this point where Kentucky's still in the thick of it, and whoever you're listening to could tell you that Kentucky's the front runner. So obviously all that stuff still lines up with him, but just from a PR perspective of landing the number 1 kid, especially a kid from Louisville, even if he only lived there for a couple of years, you've got that whole angle as well. You're going to beat out a bunch of good teams if Kentucky does end up landing him. So there's the whole PR angle to it as well. And, there's kind of the I don't know, the worry is the right word, but there's Tyron Stokes' attitude and his personality. Can Pope manage to make all that fit and work as well at Kentucky? So if Pope believes he can, there's no reason that anyone should maybe not trust him to make that happen. So Tyron definitely moves to the beat of his own drum, and he's a really talented player. So if you can bring him in here, you just have to do it. So the PR win, it would be awesome, and then just from the talent perspective, that would also be a win. So yeah, if everything goes to plan, you're looking at a really big splash from Pope, because he still kind of has, if you have one knock on him, it's you haven't landed the big fish. And even this one's still from Kentucky, but so Louisville fans might try and play with that one a little bit. But
he's the number 1 player in the country, and we've talked about it a little bit on this show, and I want to get one of the Smith's takes on the meaning of the number 1 player in the country, if Pope needs him, the magnitude of all that. But I do think that Tyron gets a bad rap for his personality, for being kind of standoffish, he has a reputation for just an asshole. That's kind of again, I don't want to say that about an 18-year-old, but that's the vibe. If you ask a general person in basketball, hey, what's the vibe on Tyron Stokes? You go, well, he's a really talented player, but he's kind of an asshole. So I want to speak up for him and say, it's because he's a basketball savant. The way he processes the game and reads the floor and his passing ability, and just he processes the game differently and more advanced than at his level, better than anybody else. So yes, there is a level, if he yells at his teammates or kind of comes across why does everybody around me suck? It's because he's kind of expecting you to be in a spot that you're not. He's expecting you to react the same way he does and to be on the same page. And when you don't react in the same way and you're not thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, sticking with the chess kind of thing that we've been seeing with Jaden Quaintance and Mark Pope and Colin Chandler and all that stuff, if you're not thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead like Tyron Stokes, he's going to get frustrated. He's going to get pissed off at you. He's going to go, why are you not where you're supposed to be? So working with another basketball savant in Mark Pope, working alongside other elite talent, pros upon pros upon pros, this is just an educated guess, knowing his personality, knowing who Kentucky he should be playing alongside next season, assuming he does commit to Kentucky. I think some of that, the temperature is going to cool down a little bit with Tyron Stokes, and I don't think he's going to come across as the asshole that he's kind of made out to be. So I think it's a great fit. I think he's a winner. I think he wants it. I think he just, when he's in an environment that fits him, I think it's going to work to absolute perfection. And I think hopefully here in the next couple days that destination does become Kentucky. So either of the Smiths, just kind of what it would mean for Kentucky, for Mark Pope, to be able to land the number one player in the country.
I mean, I'll chime in, and Spencer wants to add to it as well. But I think Zack said it. It's if you can say one thing, it's been the big fish, right? It's the big fish of when it comes to high school recruiting, and I get it. Like it's not the long-term Kentucky connection. I know the tie to the state, but it's been out of state for the latter part of his career and building what is now, the number one player in the country. But I just think it would be a massive thing if this program is able to do that. You've seen the success in the transfer portal. You're seeing the success on the floor and even the success in recruiting. I mean, Jasper Johnson, you're getting those pieces, you're getting those guys. But this one is something you can't argue with. If you're able to get the number one player in college and high school basketball to come play at Kentucky in this brand of what Kentucky basketball is, it would be a big swing, it would be a big fish, and it would be a big deal for Mark Pope's Kentucky brand to add that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, it's hard to look ahead because I'm so excited about this team, right? But when you do look ahead and you look at next year, it's hard not to envision Kentucky having a lot of juice in the portal next year. And that's only made even greater when you have a guy waiting in the wings like the number one player in America, right? When you have Tyron Stokes, I think he's going to have a lot of juice that comes with him. We'll see how the recruiting class pans out. I think, Jack, you've been talking about, probably maybe 3 commits or whatever. You look at who will most likely have coming back next year, maybe a year or 2 of Jasper and you got Trent and Malachi. And I think you'll have a really good core. Braden Hawthorne coming back, add 2 or 3 top level recruits coming off of a national championship year where we just won number 9. You're going to have a line out the door of top level transfer guys that also want to kind of hop in on that. So there's kind of a domino effect as well with landing a big kind of fish, a whale like Tyron Stokes. I think we also have seen over the course of time, what those top end guys, the kind of impact they can have, on a team, like we saw with Cooper Flagg this year. And I'm not comparing, him to Cooper Flagg, we'll see how he is and everything, but that those kind of top end recruits can have a huge impact on a team and the makeup of your season. And you know what? I'm not too worried about if he's a nice guy or not. I care about if he's a good teammate. I care about if he plays the right way. I care about if he plays hard and holds himself and his teammates to a high level. You know who else wasn't a good guy, reputation wise? DeMarcus Cousins. Who else came in and didn't have the best reputation for teammate or whatever? Julius Randle and maybe the Harrison twins and stuff, right? And look what they did. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm worried about fit. I'm worried about, are you going to come in with the right mindset and compete? And I've got zero doubt in Mark Pope and the staff's ability to get everybody bought in and make the most of the talent that he is, which is a pretty immaculate talent. So pretty pumped. We're not there yet. We need to, like you said, put the foot on the gas across the finish line, but I'm pretty excited about the fit.
Yeah, we just heard Pope talk extensively about the character and the culture and making sure that if you are a culture fit, we want you. If you're not a culture fit, we don't want you. So going through the dating process with Tyron Stokes, I feel like that kind of tells you everything you need to know that, hey, if the dude sucked as a person and was just hey, you're coming here for the wrong reasons, we have no interest in doing this, we've seen him pass on maybe not the number one player in the country, but we've seen him pass on really, really good guys. So yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. I think no concern whatsoever. I think it's a great potential fit, assuming that happens. Zach, a lot of final preseason polls coming out over the last day or two. We got, I saw Seth Davis just put one out. I saw ESPN put one final out. Kentucky still kind of lingering is that fringe top 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, these, but I have yet to see anybody kind of push their chips in on this Kentucky team as a surefire, can't miss, legitimate top 5 team. seeing them with your own two eyes for the very first time this season. Agree, disagree, your confidence in proving the national kind of narrative wrong about them not being a top 5 team?
Yeah, I mean, when you're debating between who's the 5th best and the 9th best, like our friend Brandon Ramsey loves to say, you're kind of just splitting hairs at that point, like when you're trying to debate the 5th best and the 9th best team in the country. So I think probably a lot of the reason that national media is hesitant is they're still maybe just not convinced that, how's Pope going to make it all work? A lot of it is going to be how can you make everyone happy? How can you keep everyone happy with so many good players, so much depth? I think everyone agrees that Kentucky's probably going to have one of the top 2, 3, or whatever number it is, deepest teams in the country. But how does Pope make it all work? I think that's one thing maybe people are still trying to wanting to see with their own eyes, even if last season didn't really do it for them. So it's nothing changed from my opinion from seeing them in person today. It really just kind of backed up a lot of the stuff that we've been hearing and you've been reporting over like the entire summer. So it was awesome to see that Jalen Lowe really is like kind of looking the part, and he's probably going to end up being your X factor, whatever you want to call it, in terms of how high the ceiling ends up being. Or you could say with Jaden Quaintance too. You could say with a lot of guys too. But Jalen Lowe's going to stir the drink. That's kind of the term that'll be thrown around with him. So. I think Kentucky being the number 9 team in the country or whatever, that's kind of poetic. Start number 9 to go get number 9. So I think
Pope-etic.
Pope. Oh, look at that. I like that. I like that a little bit. So
Edgar Allan Pope-etic.
I do like Drew's Edgar Allan.
I know it's like one off of the.
That one is pretty good. I think I might start using that one during the season and see if it sticks. We'll have to ask him about it during the season and see if he likes it. But so the top, I think ESPN had him at 9 or something like that. It's fine. It's none of it's really going to matter. It's just going to be fun to actually see. You'll know real quick how Kentucky kind of stacks up when you see that Purdue team, how they play against them. Because Purdue's, they're going to be number 1 or 2 for a reason, because of you already kind of know the product with them. Whereas Kentucky, you're still only bringing back 4 or 5. I think 5 total guys from last season. So, and that's a lot of new faces, a lot of new freshmen, some question marks with Jaden Quaintance's knee. So I can understand the hesitancy of wanting to put them in the top 5 right now.
Both Smiths, I want to get your take. Watching them tonight, knowing what you know about this team, top 5 or no?
I didn't know who wanted to go first. It's a top 5 roster. It's a top 5 roster with that upside and potential. When you're factoring in Otega Oweh being a part of that, and you're factoring in Jaden Quaintance being a part of that. I know it was Kentucky on Kentucky. It was a small sample size, but when you look at the pieces and you look at it on paper and you look at the flexibility and how Kentucky can kind of be dynamic across the board, I still am leaning on the defensive end of the floor. I think that this team and this program is going to take a significant jump in that end of the floor and in that category. Offensively, I trust what Mark Pope does, but I trust the commitment to being a national championship contender and winning number 9, and the mentality that they've put into this roster and how intentional they've been about piecing it together. You see the fight, you see the determination, you see enough returning pieces, you see the transfers and Mo Diabate, Denzel Aberdeen, those key guys that have been a part of national championship and Final Four programs. I think the blend is there that this is a top 5 roster, and when it's all put together. It might not be top 5 when they play Purdue here in a few weeks, but when the dust settles and this thing gets to February, March, I think Kentucky's going to be among the top 5, 6, 7 teams in college basketball.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'll echo everything that Shawn said. We talked about this, Jack, maybe like a month ago or something on one of the shows, but we talked about how important it is to have a roster that can win in a lot of different ways. And I personally felt like last year's team was a little bit more limited in the ways in which they could win. They needed to hit a lot of shots, and they needed some things to break for them and the matchups to be just right and stuff. I feel like this team can win in a ton of different ways. Like if shots aren't falling, I'm a lot more confident that this team can just defend their tails off and win a 69-62 game. I feel super, super confident that when a team that is built to just go and punch you in the mouth, that this team will punch them right back, or maybe, hey, be the aggressor and be the first one to punch. So we're not going to have situations like against Alabama, last year in the SEC tournament. I just feel like this team, the way this roster is built, the word that Shawn uses is intentional, which I really like, and I think Pope uses that word as well. they are very, very intentionally built to be able to win games in a lot of different ways, rebounding defensively, just shooting the lights out, scoring at will, playing really fast, but also had the ability to just lock in and batten down the hatches and defend in the half court. I do feel like this is absolutely a top 5 roster. I expect us to get there pretty quickly. Not having JQ early on is definitely a bit of a bummer because I'm so excited to see this team at full strength, but this is a top 5 roster. This is a roster that is built to go to the Final Four and win a national championship. Now we'll see if that happens, but I think tonight just confirmed a lot of what I've already heard about this team, and everything tonight was a good showcase of that.
Hey, and you haven't gotten the chance. Last week's show was awesome with the SEC power rankings. We didn't get to get your take on the SEC. I know you might not have it right in front of you, but maybe a loose SEC power rankings and where Kentucky stacks up among the best of the best in the league.
I mean, come on, we're number 1. I think we know that. I'm a homer, so I will always say Kentucky's number 1. But I mean, honestly and intentionally, I think absolutely we're built to be the deepest team in the SEC. And again, I think we're the most versatile team in the SEC. And I do have some real question marks about some other teams. Like Jack, I really liked your pick for Florida at 3rd. I think Florida is more likely to be in that 3-4 slot than they are to be in the 1 slot, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of question marks about that roster. I think Arkansas's roster is entirely dependent upon some of those diaper dandies being, kind of that top level freshman like Cal has had in the past. And I think you need to see big jumps from Knox and from Richmond and those guys as well, and DJ Wagner and stuff. So there's some more question marks there. Auburn losing Bruce Pearl, big hit. Alabama totally reworked their whole team, and we stole Mo Diabate from them. So I just think there's more question marks everywhere else, especially with some of those top teams. There's still some pretty big question marks where a year ago, those teams had a ton of continuity. You knew those teams were going to be really, really good. I don't think that those programs are in the same position this year, and I think Kentucky has only improved their position. So I've got us at number 1 pretty comfortably. But, again, a lot of it comes down to schedules and that type of stuff too. Kentucky has a pretty loaded SEC slate, so maybe that has an impact also.
You brought up concerns about other teams. What's your biggest concern about this Kentucky team? And I want to get all of our takes on after seeing them now at Pro Day. Biggest concern you have leaving the evenings. Spencer, we'll just keep rolling with you.
I had this thought. I don't know if it's the biggest concern, but it's a concern that I haven't talked about yet. At least I don't think I have. I came away with it tonight, and also just a little bit about what I've been hearing from practice. I think one concern that I have is that we don't really have a go-to guy in the paint that we can just toss the ball down to and say, hey, go get us a bucket. If anybody remembers the Elite 8 game against Notre Dame, right? Karl Towns single-handedly won the game because we just kept giving him the basketball, right? We've had a lot of instances of that. PJ Washington did it. He was that guy for a couple years and stuff. I don't know if we have a guy that I feel comfortable to say, yeah, let's run a set. Let's get him slashing down on the block, and let's toss it to him, and let's do some split actions on the outside to free up the guards, and you go and make a play, put it up high on the glass, and go get us a bucket. I just don't see us having that. When I watch Houston and March Madness last year and stuff, Houston had a few games, including the semifinal against Duke, where they really leaned on their bigs down low and just tossed it down there and punished teams. It'd be nice to be able to play that card, and I don't know if we have the ability to. That's one of the cards that I think might be missing from our deck. But I don't know if it's a massive concern. It's just one that I haven't really voiced yet that I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
Mine would be, it's not as much about what Kentucky's missing. It's about, it's one of those things. Can you have too much of something? And I think that this would be Mark Pope's biggest challenge of his coaching career, is when you have this much talent, you have this many pieces that can play. It's a dynamic that I'm not sure he's been in. Like last year, guys received roles as the season went along because of the injuries that occurred. Like Travis Perry played significant minutes. Even Trent Noah moved in the rotation. This year, Kentucky's got guys that would play at other programs in college basketball that still may be number 9, 10, or 11th man on this roster. And I think that with that comes a challenge. And I think that that's probably the biggest concern, just because I don't think it's typically an area of basketball that Mark Pope has had to navigate. Didn't have to navigate it at BYU. Didn't have to navigate that at Utah Valley. At Kentucky, when you recruit and you bring in talent like this, which is a good thing, because if you do have injuries this year, the talent drop-off isn't as significant. But it's going to be something that this staff has to at least keep in mind, is how do you keep everyone fed? How do you keep everyone on the same page of pursuing the same ultimate goal, which is to win a national championship? I trust that they can, but I do think that that is something that's probably going to be a challenge in some of these meetings where the staff goes, okay, you've got so many minutes, but man, this guy, I really want to give him a look. But gosh, this guy's playing so well. But that's the beauty of this thing, right? Competition. The cream rises to the top, and whoever it is, we know it's going to be the best of the best. But I think that that is a challenge that they will have to face as they go throughout the season, especially early on.
Let's keep on going.
I mean, concerns, I mean, it's kind of like what they were saying. It's just like maybe minor stuff that could end up being a big deal. I think I'm not really concerned about the shooting at all, but I do think the starting five could lack some like knockdown guys. You know, if Aberdeen ends up being maybe your best 3-point shooter in the starting five, you know, you might have to do some quick subbing and pull in other guys and help maybe boost up that a little bit. But again, I don't know if that's going to be a huge issue, just because all those other guys will be able to find points in other ways. But kind of bleeding into that is, we've talked about, like, you know, oh, if Colin Chandler looks like this, if Cam Williams looks like this, if Trent Noah looks like this, like some of those guys are going to have to hit. So I think you're banking on, you need a handful, at least two of the, you know, the 4 or 5 guys that are kind of back in that rotation have to hit and actually be like, Colin Chandler has to be the All-American guy that the scout was talking about, looking at that level. And, you know, so I think we're kind of banking on that type of stuff, and we just have to actually see it with our own eyes and in person when it actually happens. So we don't really have any reason to believe it won't happen, but that's something that I'm going to be looking for, because you really need guys like Colin and Cam and Trent Noah, especially if he's going to be, you know, a 40% 3-point shooter. You know, can he be able to actually keep himself on the floor as well? So again, not really major concerns or anything, but just things that I guess, like they were saying, just we'll be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say about like keeping the mouths fed being my concern, because like I don't think there's a selfish player on this team. Like I don't think there's somebody that's like going to get, you know, throwing a temper tantrum because he didn't get enough shots or touches or whatever. But I do wonder if there's like a spazziness with Pope that he's going to look at the bench and go, ooh, Trent's the perfect thing that I need right now. Oh, well, actually, I think Colin right now. And we're going to almost get into that, like, we're doing too much mixing and matching and not kind of finding continuity and guys that are playing well together, finding the winning lineup, the winning rotation. I do wonder if Pope almost has too many toys to play with to be like, I just don't know which one to use. Or, you know, I know there's a defensive lineup. I know there's a shooting lineup. I know there's, you know, the most physical lineup or whatever. You can go, you know, most skilled lineup, the most versatile lineup. There's a little bit of everything on this team, as we talked that scout saying, you know, it's like Noah's Ark. You have 2 of everything. That's a great thing. But what's the winning lineup? What is the group that just plays super, super well together? As Pope said, it's been basically the same white team and blue team the entirety of the fall and you know, kind of coming out of the summer. Should we be switching those up a little bit more? And yeah, that's the one concern. Again, like kind of playing off everybody else. I don't have concerns about how good this team is. I think there's plenty of talent. I think they have plenty of all of the above, but can they find that chemistry and the solution of, oh, this is our go-to group? As Spencer was saying, like, hey, who's the go-to guy that you could just dump it off in the post and score? Who is the guy that we just kind of lean on? Is it going to be Ortega to just kind of recreate the Oklahoma magic? I do wonder about those questions, and it doesn't help that Ortega's out. It doesn't help that your kind of golden goose lottery pick Jaden Quaintance is still kind of a question mark in terms of when he's coming back. We can drop a little scoop while we're doing this about Jaden while we're talking about it.
Well, let me say on that note, yeah. I do think that you're going to see a lot of Pope toying with lineups early on, especially until Jaden gets back, and trying to figure out that. Because by the end, you know, by the time March comes around, you're going to need your 6, 7, 8, 9 guys even of who you can actually expect to go out there and win. So I think you're going to see him doing a lot of toying. I know substitution patterns was a big talking point among fans last year, so I think I wouldn't be shocked if that's kind of a similar situation this year, where you just kind of see 3 guys coming in and out, before 4 minutes even comes off the clock.
Jaden Quaintance, when's he gonna play? What's the hubbub about Jaden?
You tell me.
The backstop is January. Yeah, I've seen a couple people kind of throw that out there. If you KS Board subscriber, we've had January as the backstop, like, hey, this is the absolute worst case scenario for January, while also still, as we speak today, not ruling out December. In fact, I think there are some people, most people surrounding Jaden want him to have a ramp-up period before kind of getting thrown in with the Wolves in that Tuscaloosa game down on January 3rd. Like, yes, they'd like him to be full go in January for the start of SEC play, but also we don't want to put him in a bad spot where that's his first game and saying, all right, figure it out, kid, hope for the best. So I think that's kind of where they're leaning. I would probably rule out pretty safely November. I don't think that we're going to see Jaden Quaintance in November, but
no Louisville game.
I don't think he's going to be a participant in the Louisville game, but I would say anything past November, I still would not rule out. Like, I still think that sometime in December is probably the safest bet right now, with an understanding that by the time we get to that Tuscaloosa game, he should be full go, ready to rock and roll and kind of give the best version of himself. So what the ramp up looks like, I think there's a concern about, you're going to be so emotionally invested in that St. John's game. You're going to be so, the blue blood status of that, ACC, SEC matchup against North Carolina there at Rupp. What's the emotion that goes into that? Are you going to say, well, Jaden's the one missing piece that we need, throw him in and kind of expect him, and does he get too emotionally high in that moment too? I think they would prefer a tune-up game for him, whether that's NC Central or Bellarmine, one of those kind of.
Indiana, that's an easy one.
Yeah, Indiana, just long lost cause of a blue blood. So just something to keep in mind, but things are looking amazing with Jaden, man. Like, just watching him dunk with our own 2 eyes for the first time and all that fun stuff. He's really confident. I think we're kind of saying whoa instead of go with him. So things are trending in the right direction.
Didn't he get chastised by one of the coaches for dunking today? I feel like I saw that online where one of the coaches was like, hey, don't stop dunking. Maybe
he did it several times, though.
Okay, maybe someone maybe can confirm that, but we obviously weren't watching the broadcast.
He was moving. He was looking exactly the way he needs to, and that's.
Well, I think it was a keep it under locks. Like, we don't need you showing off to everyone yet. Just wait, give it a couple more months.
Yeah, absolutely. Big Blue Madness. We're a couple days away from the premier preseason event for Kentucky basketball, for college basketball. Ask all 3 of you guys before we wrap this show up, what do you want to see at Big Blue Madness? What's the one thing that, we had Rick Pitino, we had the glass floor, we had Mark Stoops, all of those.
I'll laugh at Steven on that.
Sorry. It was a quite the memorable first Big Blue Madness for Mark Pope. How do you one up it? What's going to be the thing that we leave on, wake up Sunday morning and go, wow, can you believe that happened at Big Blue Madness?
I mean, I don't know. The first Big Blue Madness with Pope was such a big deal just because, and you even had the Kenny Brooks aspect of it too, where he had his walkout and he just kind of looked like a badass when he was coming out there. So, it's going to be kind of hard to replicate the newness of it. It's going to be kind of hard to bring back Pitino now that he's going to be on the schedule.
No, he can come. He can just stay and just kind of leave game prep out of the equation.
I think this is another great opportunity to do what he did with his opening press conference. Just bring back a bunch of legends. If you can somehow have John Wall doing the John Wall in the middle of the. If they do the glass floor thing again, and you've got.
I think that's the answer. I don't know that. That's just
scoop over here.
No, that is not. But
I think that's an easy layup.
That qualifies.
Yeah, fine, or something along those lines. There's been a lot of Tayshaun Prince talk over with the Braden Hawthorne comparison. He's been at practice over the summer as well. Maybe bring him out, or just bring back a handful of the older guys. Pope was at OKC practice last week. Maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander bring out the Finals MVP trophy.
Dude, that would be so fire.
You're going to have 8 or 9 of the best high school basketball players in the country sitting there watching. Even though Shea didn't play under Pope, it'd still be nice to be like, hey man, like you go to Kentucky, this is kind of how your future can lay out. So I think the newness of having 2 new basketball coaches last year is really what helped it out. So it will be interesting to see how they can kind of replicate that without having that whole angle to it. So, and no petting zoo still kind of upsets me.
Damn
and
it.
Jacob Polachek. So, but that's my own personal thing that I have with UK about that. So maybe we'll get that back next year.
The Smiths, what do we need to see at Big Blue Madness?
I don't know if I can think of anything that just stands out, like from everything that we've witnessed over the years at Big Blue Madness and what it was a year ago. I just think that anything that Mark Pope and Kentucky can come up with from a creative standpoint, and just the good energy in the building and the fans getting to see this team in the same building for the first time together, I think is probably just what I'm looking for. But I'm looking more to October 24th.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to reinvent the wheel every year and try to come up with something new to do. I think what would be cool is if we got some former players back that maybe we haven't gotten to see at recent Madnesses. Tayshawn would be great. Like I was sitting here thinking, and I apologize for making a Taylor Swift reference, but she did the Eras tour, right? So I think it'd be cool if Mark Pope kind of launched like an Eras type of thing where he honored at different points, different eras of Kentucky basketball. Like if, those early 2000s Tubby teams, like we have not really had a chance to like give those guys their flowers and appreciation like properly, Gerald Fitch and Keith Bogans and Marquise Estel and some of those guys. Like stuff like that.
Saul
would be
Smith.
really cool. Saul Smith, right? Like we brought Tubby back, I think it'd be really cool to like kind of lock in on a particular era for Madness and like get 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 more, even more than that, players back from that particular era and honor them. I just think that'd be cool because we've done the pros quite a bit and I love the pros and let's keep doing that because it's a big recruiting tool also. But Kentucky fans love their nostalgia and they love their teams that were beloved at the time. And I think that there's a lot we could do there too. And yeah, bring the glass floor back and, I don't know. We'll see what they do, but I'm with Shawn. I'm looking forward to October 24th.
Me too.
They haven't confirmed the glass floor yet either. So I really hope they do bring that back because I did enjoy it.
But I feel like there's a sponsorship element that comes with that. Like, hey, we're rolling out the glass floor, the ABS, whatever. Yeah. Here comes the A-Vision glass text line floor again. I feel like we would have heard about it due to sponsorship duties if it was back. So
I would like to be surprised with that. But like, and even we're just the basketball of this event is not really kind of what we're here for anyways. So we're not going to see too much of the actual product that we'll see long term. So I'm very interested in all the other stuff. So I do want them to bring the glass floor back. Make it a surprise.
There were some fans that wanted Tyron Stokes to look. All right, let's just let's call a spade here. What Louisville did with Michael Brown, announcing his commitment at the whatever the event was. It was a game preseason, so I don't even remember what the game was. But nobody had any idea that there were whispers that he was a heavy Louisville lean, but then brought him out to like a special announcement from Michael Brown, and he comes out and says hey guys, I've signed, go Cards. And it was like, damn, that's actually pretty cool. That's actually a really good idea. So.
Maybe John Wall will introduce Tyron when he comes onto the floor.
See, but the thing is, you can't officially because he's not signed. It's ahead of the early signing period.
And there's no rules. Who cares?
So, I think the closest we could possibly get is hey, he's sitting courtside for this event. And the camera's just panning through the crowd. Zoom in very fast.
And he has a phone that says, I'm committed.
That would be cool. That would and just kind of in passing, dude. The crowd would just go crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only way. Or we can just do that. There was a comment that said it, and I think it could just be John Summerall sitting in the crowd with his "I'm-committed" thing on his phone. I'm absolutely cool with that possibility as well. But yeah, I don't know how, as Spencer said, how you reinvent the wheel every year. I will say the Fan Fest, awesome idea. Yeah. I do love that idea. I love that they're bringing
meet the coaches,
bringing in the local vendors with booths and food and meeting the players and coaches and all those. That's a really, really cool event for free. Like, it's about, hey, we understand that things are so expensive and everything is a plus. Shout out KSR Plus. Everything is some type of subscription or premium service now. Like, hey, let's just do something for free for the goodness of our heart. Like, why not just enjoy this for the sake of enjoying this? So I appreciate that they're doing that. We'll be there. Maybe there is a petting zoo. Maybe that's just maybe that's the big surprise.
Well, we'll be there at the Fan Fest regardless. So hopefully we get the little extra present when we get there.
Yeah, we'll see. But hey, this was a lot of fun. Basketball season is here. We got to see them finally after all the scuttlebutt and scoop and intel and all that from practice. Hey, we finally get to see the Kentucky Wildcats. It was an absolute blast. It was an absolute blast talking to our little 4-person panel. We figured, hey, it's the first time we get to see the Cats. We might as well bring in the big dogs and have all of us live and in the flesh. So for us two goobers here at KS Bar and Grill talking in the upstairs in the office, and then for Shawn Smith and Spencer Smith, we always love our Smiths. A lot of fun. Thank you guys. This was a lot of fun.
SEC Media Days. Plug that real quick.
That is very, very true. Birmingham on October 14th and 15th, but on the 14th is when Mark Pope, Otega Owe, Denzel Aberdeen, and Jalen Lowe will be representing the Kentucky Wildcats. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And then the women go first, and then the men will close out day one down in Birmingham. So we'll be down there. We'll be enjoying it and having a good old time seeing the competition. We're sniffing out the SEC competition.
Yeah, I like it. I think they usually only bring 2 players. So this year they're doing 3.
Some teams only are bringing 2 players.
Okay, yeah.
We decided to bring 3.
Yeah, and the women's side's bringing 3 players as well. So that's fine. You know, we like talking to these kids and getting to know them a little bit better. So that'll be a lot of fun.
The women are bringing Tony Morgan, Clara Strack, and Tiana Key with Kenny Brooks. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of stuff to get to. We will obviously be back for Big Blue Madness coverage. We're going to be, whatever happens with Tyron Stokes, we will obviously be talking about that extensively. And then we'll be live and in the flesh next week down in Birmingham for SEC Media Days. And then guess what? Blue-white game. And then we get Purdue on the 24th after that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Plenty of basketball coverage to get to. And we are just so damn thrilled about it.
I do need to say something. They'll never forgive me. I got 2 tiny humans upstairs that are watching their first episode of Sources Say, and they texted me and they've been waving. So they told me they wanted me to wave at them on the screen. So
we'll give them a wave too.
They'll never forgive me.
Love you, kiddos. Love each and every one of you. Absolutely. We cut off. I'm not sure if he's still talking or not. But hey, guess what? We'll be back sometime later on in the week. It's going to be an absolute blast because basketball season is here, and we love that. For Zach, for Jack, for Spencer, for Shawn, we'll see you next time. Go Cats.